Today we're going to take a look at spillers and fillers for container and hanging basket combinations. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and a couple weeks ago we did a video on the thrillers, so we wanted to go ahead and show you and talk to you about different plants that can be used as fillers and spillers for not only your containers but also your hanging baskets as well. So I have a lot of video and a lot of pictures from some of the ones that we have done over the past few years or so. And we're going to start off with this one. This is in front of my house, and this is actually planted in an aqua pot. And this one, I think you're going to really be surprised with the transformation of how it changed from the beginning of the season until the end of the season. That's one thing I do like to talk about, is when you are planting fillers and spillers into your containers are going to change. They're going to look different from the beginning of the season until the end of the season. And I think that's one thing that's really kind of fun with using different plants in container combinations, is just watching them and how they change as the season goes along. So in this particular planter, I think the brightest focal point right off the bat is the Supertunia Bermuda Beach with that beautiful corally pink bloom. Supertunias are a great plant that gives color all season long. We also planted in this container the Supertunia Saffron Finch, which I absolutely love the beautiful yellow color of Saffron Finch. And then right up in front and center, we put a sweet potato vine, and this is the Mahogany sweet potato vine. And I will tell you, if you are using sweet potato vines in your containers, you only need one, because sweet potato vines do a big job with filling out hanging baskets and containers as the season goes on. We also put in here some Supertunia Mini Vista Ultraviolet, which is a beautiful bright purple color. We put the Coleus Cherry Drop in the back. I wasn't sure how Cherry Drop was going to perform in this container, so that's why we kind of put it towards the back. But as the summer went on, that Cherry Drop just got huge and filled out the whole back of that container. So obviously from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, you can see which of these plants really outperform the others. And I'm okay with that. As I mentioned, I knew I was going to have a different look early on than what I was going to have later on in the season. And some of this is because some plants are just more aggressive than others and really put on a late summer show. The next planter we have is one of the aqua pots that we have planted here in front of the garden center. This one we planted last summer, and it was kind of a unique and different mix of annuals. Something I wasn't quite sure how it was going to turn out, but we were really pleased with it as the summer went along. So when I'm talking about spillers and fillers, I kind of use them a little bit interchangeably, because a lot of plants that are spillers, the plants that trail over the front of the pot or over the sides of the pot, at some point in time they're going to act more like fillers. So when they're young in age, they may kind of fill in around the top, and then as the season goes on, they'll continue to trail down the sides of your pots. So the fillers, those are plants that primarily are going to stay right at the top of the plant. They're not going to really spill over much. So some plants definitely just have that filler attribute to them. They're never going to spill. They're just going to fill in that middle ground space. So you've got your fillers, you have your filler spillers, and then you have your spillers. So plants that do just the one job of the middle, plants that do the middle and of trail, and then plants that just trail over. So in this container combination with the begonias in full sun, that was a little bit of a risk, a little bit of a trial. Let's see how they do. But those nonstop yellow begonias, they did fantastic all summer long. They handled the westward facing sun here at the garden center and just continued to put on a really beautiful show. Now they were more of our fillers. They didn't do any trailing over. They just kind of filled in that middle ground of the pot. We also had planted in this container the wire vine, and the wire vine just trailed over all summer long, filled out and got thicker as the summer went on. And I love the look of the wire vine because it's so thin, so fine, and so wispy, and just such a beautiful addition to container combinations. We also did plant in here a sweet potato vine, and the sweet potato vine, when it was young, when it's early in its stages, it just kind of filled out the front of the pot. But then as summer went along, it continued to spill over and really just create a vibrant, deep black show to this container combination. We did put some Kufia vermillionaire in there, which could be used as a thriller because it gets fairly tall, But in the container combination here, we had that palm tree that got even taller. So the Vermillionaire was a nice filler that just kind of filled in around the base there of that palm tree. And then to add another splash of brightness, we added in some Super Bells, Coral Sun for that beautiful orange and yellow combination, creating a black, yellow, and orange look to this container. It really turned out really pretty, and something that, again, it's okay to try things that maybe you don't think are going to work, because you might pleasantly be surprised with what the end result is. So for those of you who are new to our channel, Garden Crossings is an online garden center. We ship plants all over the United States, as well as having our retail garden center here in Zeeland, Michigan. You can see a lot of these beautiful hanging baskets behind me right now. They're in the growing phase, getting ready for Mother's Day. That's kind of our target date when we want our hanging baskets to all be filled out. And I want to show you that if you are online looking, we have a couple really helpful online tools. We have two different places, not three, two different places for you to look up container combinations. So we're going to show you how to locate them on the website. We have our 3-in-1 planters, and basically what those are is we take 3 plants, plug them all together in the same container, so that way once they're shipped out to you, you're going to get a beautiful mix of color that you can just plant right into your window boxes, into your containers, or into your hanging baskets. So they're all planted together, they're all mixed in, they're ready to go as a beautiful array of color. We also have our combo kits on the website. And what our combo kits are is they're recipe kits. They're recipes showing you 3, sometimes 4 different plants that can be planted together to make a beautiful look for containers, window boxes, and hanging baskets. Most of our combo kits do not have a thriller in them. So if you are wanting to add a thriller into the combo kit that we have recommended, you can head on over to the annuals and look for something like grasses or elephant ears or cannas or any wonderful tall upright annuals that can be added into the combo kits to give you that nice tall thriller, in addition to the beautiful color from the fillers and spillers. Now for those of you who are looking to do some shade gardening, I do have a shade combination that I put together every year for At My Home Garden. It's a mix of plants that just seem to be staples for me and that do really well in this area under my front porch. My porch is facing westward, so it really doesn't get a lot of sun until the very end of the day. And I like to call this porch this porch pot just kind of something where I take, I'm going to say, random plants that I don't always or necessarily use a lot of. But once I started placing these together, I love the look for this shady area in my landscape, because I don't have a lot of shade. So what I have is, for the thriller, we're going to talk still thriller here, I use the Pegasus begonia. It's a leafy begonia, it doesn't flower, it's got beautiful variegated foliage, and it just gets really tall in this planter. And then underneath of it, I plant in some Diamond Mountain, which is really soft and airy, beautiful little white flowers, and I use that as my filler. It just kind of fills in underneath that Pegasus begonia. And then I use the wire vine to kind of trail over and just give that nice airy look as well. And then of course I want some color in this planter. I don't want it to just be all foliage. So I use the pink Double Delight begonias to add just beautiful splashes of kind of corally pink. And then I use the Super Bells Antique Rose, the doubles, and they are just beautiful. It might actually be called Vintage Rose, but just beautiful to add kind of that corally pink into this mix. And then the last thing I use is a fuchsia, and it's called Fuchsia Autumn Now. So it's got beautiful foliage, greens and yellows and oranges. And then not only does that foliage add interest to this container combination, the orangey tubular flowers as well just add just another splash of interest. So this container combination has a lot of texture, a lot of color, and just a lot of things going on that when grown together pair really beautifully. Here's another container combination that we use in front of the garden center, and this one packs such a huge punch of color. So we're using our palm trees as the thrillers in this container combination, and as you can see in the photos, the salvia, which we were using as a filler, really got huge and is really overtaking the palm trees. Salvia also can be used as a thriller in containers. As you can see, it gets really big, But here we were hoping it was going to stay a little bit more compact and just kind of fill in around that palm tree. Now, this is the end of summer, so it's really done quite a big job of coloring up this combination. So the next level we're going to look at is the fillers. And here we use geraniums. Geranium is another plant that you could use as a thriller because they are nice and upright. But in this container combination, knowing the height of the plants we had it planted with, we knew that those geraniums would stay short enough that they would kind of fill in around the base of that salvia. And then our fillers and spillers, so these plants, when they started off, they were filling in the main base of the plant, but as the summer went along, they started to spill over. We used the Supertunia Magic Pink Lemonade. I love that Supertunia because it kind of gives you 3 different colors going on. You have hot pink, you kind of have coral, you have yellow, and that's all from one plant. It transitions with so much color, and I think it just looks so pretty because whenever you can have a plant that brings you more than one color, I don't know, I think that's kind of a unique attribute of certain plants. And then in this container, we planted that beautiful Dichondra Silver Falls, which we use a ton of, and that just trailed over and spilled over that beautiful cobalt blue pot. And I think that blue and that silver really were striking together. It made everything just pop and look so gorgeous. Now, if you're looking to do something a little more simple, not as much color, not as much plants going on, maybe you just, want something that doesn't have a thriller, where a lot of what I've shown you does also have thrillers with the fillers and spillers. Here's a combination that's just really, it's keeping it simple. And in this planter, we have the Supertunia Vivid or Hoopla Vivid Orchid planted with a Superbena Pink Cashmere. 2 plants, a lot of color going on because both of these plants kind of have that 2-tone look. It just really keeps it a very simple look. If you wanted to put a thriller in there, you certainly could, but this is also something really nice for hanging baskets because you've got the plants that fill out across the top, and then as they grow, they're going to just continue to trail on over. And the last of the containers we're going to look at today is a combination I put together for the Northern Michigan garden last year. And as you can see, we're using a lot of those palm trees as our thrillers, just because I like the looks of them in a container, just how they're just green and they blow in the breeze. It's really pretty. It's a way that I can bring the tropics here to Michigan. So in this container combination, I just went for a colorful array of Super Bells. So I have the Super Bells Great Punch, the Super Bells Cherry Red, and again, the Super Bells Magic Pink Lemonade. When they first started off in the season, they just kind of filled in nicely around the top, around the base of that container. And as summer progressed, they started to trail on over. Now, the 2 plants I did plant in here that were specifically for trailers was again that wire vine that you have seen me use in several of the containers that we've looked at today, along with that Dichondra Silver Falls, which again, I used a ton of that in the different plantings that we looked at. And those plants, they're going to head right down and they're going to trail down your containers or your hanging baskets. Now, one plant that you're not seeing in here so good that I use as a filler is the Angelonia Blue, the Angel Face Blue. And I think we kind of just tucked that around to the base of that palm tree and hoping that the palm tree would get taller and we'd start to see some of that Angelonia. But it's not putting on the show that I was hoping it would, being a filler in the container. So definitely I probably wouldn't do that again because I really didn't get to see it at any point in the growing season. So that's one thing I want you to know is be creative, have fun with your spillers and your fillers. You may be buying something specifically thinking this is going to be a filler in the container combination, and you may well find out by the end of the summer it's going to fill, but it's also going to spill. And your spillers, again, too, look for plants, more viney type plants. Those are going to be the ones that are going to head right down and spill immediately. Plants that are great in container combinations, you're going to see us use a lot of the Supertunias. You're going to see a lot of the Super Bells. You're going to see a lot of the Superbena. And those plants, they pair well together, they grow well together, and they have a lot of the same water needs and fertilizer needs. So they pair well together, and that's why you see a lot of those plants when you're going to look at different recipes or combinations for containers and hanging baskets. But don't be afraid to branch out. Don't be afraid to add in some of the different things too, because I think when you add some of those different things in, that's really when it adds a very fun and interesting element to the creations you're putting together. If you have any questions or comments on any of the combinations that you've seen today, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. We're going to also put links to our combo kits and our 3-in-1 combo planters below. So if you want to head to the website and just kind of peruse through for some different ideas, you don't have to take that idea and say, I have to do it. Maybe take elements from some of those ideas that we're showing you and piece it together with other elements from other container combinations. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.